Guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at my most anticipated figure of the Collecta 2021 line. It's the figure that I was just beyond excited about its release because I love the prehistoric mammals from Collecta. Continuously, they have just bombarded us with unbelievable prehistoric mammals, and in my personal opinion, some of the best, if not the best, that are out there on the market today. So when I had found out that they were making this species, a Doedicurus, I was so unbelievably happy about it. The promotional images had obviously led us all to believe that the figure would be incredible, and trust me, it is exactly that here in person. It is just gorgeous, and easily, in my opinion, the best version of this species out there as far as a figure goes, because they have just nailed every aspect of this figure from what I can see just straight away. Of course, I did just take the figure out of the box a few minutes ago, and I am just kind of taking a look at it nice and fresh with you guys, but just that quick glance has me so confident in the overall beauty of this figure. It is just incredibly, incredibly well done. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Doedicurus, look at how beautiful that is. That detailing is just off the charts, and they have done a great job on the actual paintwork as well, making sure that it looks super lifelike, super realistic. They've given it a really nice paint job of like a brown, a very dark brown on the face, but then lightly dry brushed some lighter browns over certain areas, making sure that all of that fur detail really jumps out at you, really shines quite nicely. I think it looks gorgeous as far as the detailing aspect and the paintwork goes. You can see the ear is sculpted out up there on the back of the head. You can see it's nicely painted with a dark gray, and then the nostrils as well are sculpted out right here, and you can also see they are highlighted with a darker coloration. Again, some more nice dry brushing has been applied to the front of the face there in the snout area. The inside of the mouth looks to be painted really nicely. You can see the tongue in there a little bit, but it's so hard to get in there. It's a very small mouth. It's a little bit dark inside that mouth, and we can't see in there too well, but it does look quite nice. The eyes as well are beautifully done. Collecta has done a great job as far as like the placement of the paint on the eyes of their figures, but also continuously using this really nice kind of a dark black coloration and then glossing it to perfection. The eyes of their figures just always look so lifelike, so realistic. You can see as I shine it just how incredible that gloss coat looks. Again, about as lifelike and about as living as a model can get as far as like the gloss coat of an eye. It just looks super, super nice. You can see that over here on this side of the head as well. The detailing aspect is just off the charts beautiful, as is the paintwork. As you come up here to the top of the head of the animal, you can see a very nicely done sculpt up here, kind of showing almost like that armored type of an area to the animal. Definitely looks really nice as far as the sculpting aspect goes. And they've also kind of applied like a dark wash to make that detail pop quite nicely. So that looks really nice as well. Even the underside of the animal here on the underside of the mouth, and then actually turning into the throat, you could see the throat kind of shining quite nicely throughout the sculpt of the figure, and you can kind of pick up on like some musculature there in the neck as well. Really, really beautifully done here on the part of Collecta. And then as we move up into the back of the animal, again, the texturing is off the charts beautiful, but you could see some really nice paintwork here in this area, as well as you could see quite a few different tones of like darker blacks that they've applied with a nice wash. And then there's primarily like this beautiful variation of brown, which kind of almost appears to like transition to different variations of browns, because you can kind of see like a little bit of a darker brown right there, but then it transitions to a slightly lighter brown. And then as we move up here, you can kind of just pick up on different variations of those browns included throughout the entire figure. And then areas, of course, where the black really shines through as well. So it gives the entire back of the animal a lot of really nice color variation that I love to see. And then they've dry brushed a lot of it over with like a white coloration, making sure the detailing aspect of the figure pops really nicely. And I think that was a very nice touch on the part of Collecta. Again, making sure that all of the detail there in one of the main areas of the Doedicurus would be this kind of shell-like area in the back, and making sure it all pops beautifully, really highlighting that area of the figure. And I think that, again, was really nicely done on the part of Collecta. Pretty much painted, in my opinion, to perfection, and given really nice, very realistic looking tones of color. Again, something that I would expect this animal to look like would be the coloration that we have here. So they've done a great job in pretty much every aspect. You can see the arm coming out here from the underside, of course. Really nice paintwork continuing throughout here. You can see that the hair and fur detail looks really good there. Beautifully dry brushed, again, to pop quite nicely. The foot transitions nicely to a lighter brown the further down you get into the toes, and then you can also see that the nails are painted really beautifully as well with a nice dark gray, and they are beautifully glossed. And they also include a little bit of paint application as far as like variations of color. They kind of appear that maybe they've been dry brushed a little bit as well, with like a variation of brown that looks really cool, very realistic. You can also see the rear leg here, but it's a little hard to see with such small legs, and then of course you have the very large part of the body here kind of drowning out the feet, but you can see that the foot looks really good back here as well. Again, detailed to the max, beautifully painted, no sloppiness at all as far as like the nail paint or anything goes. If we look just straight up at the underside again, incredibly well done. Even the undersides of the feet are really highly detailed and beautifully painted. Again, lots of variations of brown have been put into this figure, making sure that the paint application looks super lifelike and super realistic. You can also see just generally the very nice fur detail throughout the entire animal here on the underside. And then as we lead back here into the tail, we start to see kind of like a striping effect with the variation of brown that is used for most of the body, as well as this very dark brown. It's like a very dark, like a burnt umber type brown, and that stripes down throughout the body. It continues to look really nice. The detailing gets a little finer. You can see that just generally it's a lot finer as far as the texturing goes out here, and then we get out here, we can see that this area is as well beautifully painted, actually very similarly painted to the toenails as far as like the kind of dark gray and then dry brushed with that brown. So that's definitely something that they've done, and you can see it a little clearer out here at the end of the tail. You can also see as I turn it, there's a nice kind of like a gloss coat to that area as well, so that it shines, and you can also take note of that. So man, this figure is just off the charts beautiful. I am super happy that they decided to release a Doedicurus, and again, as far as I'm concerned, this is definitely the best Doedicurus out there. You can see the legs on this side look just as incredible as the ones that we had seen on the previous side. Pretty much every area of this figure is about as beautiful as it gets, I would say, for a Doedicurus, one of the weirdest looking animals that you'll probably ever come across, but such a beautiful animal overall, and a beautiful figure, really doing the species justice here by Collecta. So as far as a size goes on our gorgeous Doedicurus, for a length, you are looking at from the tail to the head about 6 3/4 inches, or about the 17, closing in actually maybe on about 17.5 centimeters. And then for a height to the back there, you are looking at a little over the 3-inch area, or about the 8 centimeter range, somewhere in that region. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our Collecta 2021 Doedicurus, and you can definitely see next to these figures that the Doedicurus sports some pretty good size overall. Being a deluxe figure, of course you would expect it to, and they have definitely gone all out with this figure as far as both, of course, size and sculpt, paint. Everything on this figure, in my opinion, is perfect. I feel like the size is very impressive for the figure, making the figure somehow even more impressive than it already was after looking at the sculpt, detail, and paint aspect. So this figure, as far as I'm concerned, I would say is definitely the total package as far as a Doedicurus goes. So this brand new 2021 Collecta Doedicurus is definitely my favorite figure of the year, and that is with complete confidence as far as I'm concerned. They've had some really good figures so far that I've taken a look at with you guys, and again, those are all gorgeous figures, but this one, in my opinion, my personal opinion, takes the cake so far as my favorite goes, because it's a species that I was really hoping to see Collecta make at some point, because they excel so well at their prehistoric models, and the wait was definitely worth it, because man, this is a gorgeous interpretation of a Doedicurus. Collecta took this one and knocked it straight out of the park, but that's not something that's uncommon with them, as they do that quite often. But the detailing aspect of this figure, again, is incredible. There is just so much beautiful detailing to be found on the figure. Pretty much every aspect of detail that you would expect to find on the animal happening at this point in time as it's moving along is perfectly present in the sculpt of the figure, as well as some incredible fur detail throughout the entire body that is beautifully elaborated with some really nice dry brushing. The painting aspect of the figure as well is just incredible. They've done a tremendous job as far as making sure that the paint application looks very nice, very realistic and lifelike, including so many different tones of color on the animal with many different variations of browns, especially like how they've dry brushed certain areas with like the lighter brown, really playing off of the darker brown, which is like the primary color of the face, the legs, and the underside. You can really see how nice that dry brushing looks on the figure, and again makes the fur detail look super lifelike if you ask me. The back of the Doedicurus as well is beautifully painted with a very nice dark wash, and then you have quite a few different variations of browns included, and then dry brushed with that white, which really makes that area of the animal pop in gorgeous fashion. That was a really nice choice on the part of Collecta. And then the other area that I'm a big fan of is the way that they've painted kind of like those spikes on the end of the tail, and then the toenails and everything on the figure, as far as like that dark gray, and then dry brushing it over quite nicely with that brownish coloration really makes it just look kind of like it's a little bit dirty, but very realistic, I would say. So this figure as a whole is just unbelievably well done, and an incredible tribute to the Doedicurus overall. Easily, in my opinion, my favorite Doedicurus figure out there currently. So if you would like to pick this up, of course, keep checking back to everythingdinosaur.com. You can either check their website or just check their social media accounts, because if you check their social media accounts, you can of course keep up to date with all the figures that they stock. But if you do not have social media, just keep checking back to everythingdinosaur.com. The figure should come into stock sometime in the very near future, and make sure you pick it up when it does, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.